The WP Get group presents another WP Train tutorial video. How to optimize photos or images for fast loading web pages. For this tutorial, I will use a Google Chrome browser. I'll create a demo WordPress page and use the Elementor page builder. The Google Chrome browser will be used to help us determine the most appropriate dimensions for images, for optimized images, and also we'll use that to have a look at how long it takes the page to download for an average user with the unoptimized images, and then do that again with the optimized images to see how much of a difference it actually makes. We'll only be using 3 images, but you can see that the more images you use, the more effect this is going to have on the speed of your web page, depending on whether you optimize the images or don't. So to get started, I've created a sample or a demo WordPress page, and this is using the Elementor page builder, which is a very simple page builder for WordPress. And what I've done is I've downloaded 3 images, all of which are larger than what they need to be so that we can see the effect that will have. So typically sizes of images for web pages typically would be less than a megabyte. The smaller the better. You can see all 3 of these are larger than 1 megabyte. You will also see that I've made them 2,500 dots across, each one of these. That one's slightly smaller, but roughly 2,500. Now, just a point here, so on a full high definition monitor, the width of the page is 1,920 dots across. So you can imagine that even if you had a full screen image that's not optimized, the maximum width of that image that's going to have any effect on the quality would be 1,920 dots. All of these are larger than that, which means that you've just got to download much larger images to display them at smaller sizes. Typically, when you start putting them on a web page where it takes up maybe half a column or 1 column or a third column, they're much smaller than that. So we'll have a look at that as well. So normally I organize my photos or images into folders. So I have a folder called Originals. I've created a temporary folder for this tutorial. Originals, another folder for the optimized images, and a little notepad document. In this case, I'll just call it optimal image sizes, which we use to record what size they should be after figuring that out with Chrome. And then we can use that to determine the best way to optimize those images. Okay, so getting right into it, we're going to come back to our Elementor, and we're going to have a look at our first section, and we're going to add our first image. So under the originals, it's image 1, it's a picture of a dog, and we're going to drag and drop that. And it takes a little while for WordPress to process this and create all the additional image sizes because it's such a large image. So once that's uploaded, we'll just insert that. And there's our dog, typically with a background full screen image. In this case, it's obviously got a dark overlay, so you can see the original there is nice and bright. This one here is a little bit dark because we've got a transparency overlay. So for background images, typically you'd set them to center or top center or bottom center, and you'd set the size to cover so that it fills in the entire area. Okay, so we're going to grab the second image and just upload that. Again, takes a little while to process. And we'll see the difference of how quick this happens when we use the optimized images a bit later on in the tutorial. And we'll then go and grab our third image, which is the lady playing the guitar. and insert that. So we've got a very simple page with a full width background image, an image which is in a boxed layout where there's 2 columns and it's taking up a half a column, and then an image which takes up a 3rd column in this box layout. Okay, so I'm just going to update that, and then we're going to view the page, and there's our page. Pretty simple. So now we're going to see how quick this page actually loads. Now, easy way to do that is we press the F12 key on our keyboard to bring up the Google Chrome Dev Tools. And along the top bar here, you can see tabs. We go to our network tab. I've just unticked some of the stuff I had previously set. And you've got a throttling drop down. So for the moment, I've got a very, very fast internet connection here. So I'm going to show you on a fast internet connection what it'd be like. If I press Control F5, I'm going to see that it transferred 4 megabytes of data for these 3 images, and it took 3.7 seconds to do so. So what I'm going to do is demonstrate what it's like on an average NBN 12 plan, so the typical sort of a plan that someone might get. So I'm going to disable the cache so that it downloads all the images rather than getting them directly off my computer. Click on my throttling tab, and I'm going to add a profile. Call this profile NBN 12. So that a NBN 12 plan will typically get around about 7 megabits per second. Because we enter in kilobits per second here, we'll enter that as 7168. And as we can see here, we've got 7 megabits per second, which is a typical NBN 12 plan. Alright, so we've got a profile called NBN 12, which we can use for our testing. So we'll close this window by clicking on the X on the top right, and we're going to select from our throttle drop down, we're going to select that new profile we created, NBN 12. And then we're going to press Control F5 again. We're going to see what effect that has. Okay, so in this case it transferred the same amount of data, obviously, and it took 6.28 seconds to download those images. Okay, which isn't great, considering we've only got 3 images. A typical fast loading website should be less than 3 seconds per page, and Google doesn't like it too much when it gets above that, and it may affect your search engine rankings. So putting too many images or too larger images will definitely affect that. So what we're going to do now is look at what can we do about this. So the first thing that we need to do is figure out what size or what dimensions all of these images should be for best results. The best way to do that is in the Google Chrome DevTools on the far left here. There's a element selector. So we'll click on that and we'll point our mouse at the top section, and you can see it's got a blue overlay, and above that there's some information about how wide and how high it is. In this case it says it's 1903 by 352. Now typically just round these off to the nearest 10 or so. So in this case 1900 would be fine. Now, being a background image, we might have to allow a little bit more so that if we put more padding or more text in the section, there's more image in the background that it can show. So let's say we'll make that 1900 by 900 by 400. So what we're going to do is go back to our content here, and we created a optimal image size notepad document. So I'm just going to click on that. I'm going to put an image 1 is 1900 by 500. That'll do. Image 2 and image 3 placeholder. Okay, so go back to our page here. So if we now point at the second image, it's showing us it's 550 by 550. I'm not going to record that just yet. I'm just going to show you how to determine the actual size this should be. Now, the next image is showing is, say, 360 by 240. Now, we're looking at this page on a desktop computer screen that's 1920 wide or full high definition. Now, we know that people are going to look at this web page on tablets and mobiles and all sorts of other devices. So we need to find out how wide are these images going to be displayed at the maximum size on any device. So the way to determine that is back down the left here of the DevTools. There's the device toolbar. So we're going to turn that on. And then up here, we make sure that our mode is responsive. You can actually emulate particular phones or tablets, but we want it to be responsive, which means we can move this little handle on the side to work out what size it is. So I'm going to drag that to the right, and you can see that is 2 columns. Drag it to the left, and you see at this size, it actually goes to 1 column, which is much bigger. So we're going to drag it slightly to the right again and keep going. We're going to find that sweet spot where it just changes. It looks like 769. It's 769 and above. It's 2 columns. 767, 768. So I'm going to try typing in 768. Oops. 768, it's still 2 columns, so 767. So 767 is our breakpoint. So at this point here, we can see that these 2 images here go full width. So we want to make sure that our element selector is selected again and point our mouse at that. And now we can see it's actually 747 by 747, so 750 by 750. So if we made this image 500 by 500 that we saw before, on a tablet, it would start looking pretty awful because it's got to scale that image up. So we want the best quality at the maximum size that this is going to be displayed at. So in this case, it's going to be 750 by 750. So let's go back to our Notepad document and say our image 3 is 750 by 750. Okay, so looking at our third image, and it's saying it's going to be 750 by roughly 500. So let's make it 750 by 500. Okay, so now we know how big the dimensions of each of these images needs to be. Let's have a look at what we actually have uploaded there. So, image 1, we need to be 1900 by 500. If we look at our originals, we've actually uploaded an image that is 2500 by 1045. So that's way bigger than it needs to be. If we look at image 2, it's 2448 by 2448. It only needs to be 750 by 750 for this website. Image 3, it's 2500 by 1666. It only needs to be 750 by 550. So we can save a lot of size just by making these images the correct size or dimensions for our website. So how do we do that? So in this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to do that using Photoshop, Adobe Photoshop. Now, Adobe Photoshop is a paid subscription, so not everybody is going to have the luxury of Photoshop. So we've made a supplementary video to this, which you can have a look at after this, which shows you how to do the same thing using a couple of free programs, which is GIMP, which is a image processing tool just like Photoshop, and then an add-on to that called RIOT, or Radical Image Optimization Tool, which is an amazing little program for making the actual size or the download size of the files as small as it possibly can be without losing quality. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. Photoshop is my preference because it's a very easy way to do it. It's a single step to make the image the right size, and then a single step to save it. So it's just an easier option if you've got the luxury of having Photoshop. So I'm going to open up my image one in Photoshop. Okay, so image one, we want it to be 1900 by 500. So in Photoshop, we select the cropping tool, which is on the toolbar up the top left here. We make sure that the cropping mode is width, height, and resolution, and we set that to 1900 by 500. And the resolution is 72. This doesn't really matter, the resolution, because it would automatically scale anyway. And that will give us a marquee around the area. We can drag this little dog up and down, just clicking inside the marquee, drag them up and down. Be careful not to go to the left or the right because you get white space. But keep it there. And there we go, we've got a nice cute little face there. So once you've got that in the right spot, double click in the center, and there's our cropped image, which is 1900 by 500. Okay, so now we have to save this as an optimized image. So the way we do that in Photoshop is click on File, Export, and this is my favorite way of doing it, Save for Web. There is a new Export As function. I think the old Save for Web actually works a lot better for this. So we click on Save for Web. Okay, and there's our photo there, showed it full size. And what we want to do is we can use a preset up here, and we want to have JPEG medium, and then we can change those formats. But just leave it on JPEG for photos, and our quality is on medium. So at this setting, you can see down the bottom left of this window, it's telling us that that image size would be 98.7K at that size. So let's have a look at our original. Our original is 2.654 megabytes, or 2,654 kilobytes. So already that's a huge difference. We can actually make this even better because this image here is only going to be used as a background image. So we really don't need to worry about the quality of that image too much. We've got a black overlay on it. So if I set that to low, that gets a little bit blocky in here. But again, it's a background image. It doesn't matter. The dog still looks okay. Our image size down here is only 58K. What a huge difference. So I'm quite happy to leave it on 58K because that's going to be in the background. And I don't think we'll notice the difference in the quality. Now, every image is different, so how you set the quality for each image and how you're going to use it is very subjective, and it's up to you. So our size here, obviously, it tells us it's 1900 by 500. So we're going to save that. And we're going to save that to the optimized folder, and I always like to put a underscore and then the width that the image will be, and then a W for wide. So image 1 underscore 1900 wide. And we're going to save that. Okay, so let's get our second image. The girl dancing. Our second image we determined was going to be 750 by 750. So go back to our cropping tool and make that 750 by 750. And because it's already a square, it fits nicely into there. If you wanted to, you can actually move this cropping. If you just want a piece of the section in there, for example, you can move it up and down, select just the bit you want. Let's just do that as an example. So if I select that there, and then double click in the center, press Control 1, that gives us the full view, 100% view. And there's our dancing girl cropped to 750 by 750. Same deal, file, export, save for web, and there she is there. And you can see it's uses or shows the last setting that we had. Now this is pretty awful. Seeing all these little artifacts around her leg there, very blocky in the shadow areas here. It's not very impressive. So if you've got lots of images and you don't really care about the quality too much, that's okay. That'll be okay. But we're going to try setting that to medium and see what happens. So it improved a little bit. And the artifacts around the leg here, the sort of weird edges, it's improved a little bit. Image size is only 55 kilobytes. So let's try it on high. Okay. All the blockiness that we had in the shadow here is gone. I can't notice the artifacts around the leg here. So let's just switch between low, terrible little dotty artifacts around here, very blocky there. Put it on high, all the artifacts are gone and it's not blocky in the shadow anymore. I'm pretty happy with that. It's 123K. Our original for this image is 1.7 megabytes or 1700K, so it's a big difference anyway. So reiterating that this is very subjective, so it depends on the type of image. Different settings work well for different images. Depends on how you're going to use the image. Does it need to be a really high quality, or is it relatively low quality? Okay, the lower the quality that you can accept for this particular image on your website, the smaller that file size is going to be. So it's really a decision you have to make based on that. So we're going to save this. Again, we're going to go to the optimised, and we're going to put a underscore 750 W on the end of that. Okay, and there's our dancing girl done. Okay, so we'll go back to our image here, and we're going to get image 3. Now, image 3, we want to be 750 by 500. So back to our cropping tool. We've already got it at 750, so we're just going to change this to 500. And that already pretty much fits there. Once again, if you want to, you can move this in and out. If you just want a section, like that part there, or you want the full thing. I think I quite like the full image on this. So I'm going to double click in the center there, and that's press Control 1, and that shows us the full size of that image. Once again, file, export, save for web. Now, JPEG high is the last setting we use, so it's saved that setting. The JPEG high, it's still a pretty small file size, it's only 57K, and the image looks very good. Let's put it on low. Ooh, not sure if you can see this in the tutorial video, but when I put it on low, around her fingers here, around the hand, all around here, around the strings, I can see all these little dotty JPEG artifacts. So if we go to medium, it's cleaner, it's not so bad. Maybe we'll go to high, that's much cleaner there. I just wanted to switch between, say, low there, look at all these dots around her hand, for example, here on the edge of her hand. We'll go to high and watch them disappear. So we're going to high and all those dots have disappeared, so it looks like a nice clean image. And it's still a very small image. So the original one for that is 1.2 megabyte or 1200 kilobytes. This one would be 57 kilobytes. So big difference anyway. So we're going to save that into the optimized folder, and we're going to call that image underscore 750W. Okay, so there we are, done with optimizing these 3 images. So now if we have a look in our optimized, well, actually look at the difference in size. So if we got these 3 images, these three images together would add 5.56 megabytes, or 565, yeah, over the right hand side here, 5.56 megabytes to your download of that one page. So if we go to the optimised and we select all three of those, 0.24 megabytes, 240k, what a huge difference that would make. And I can guarantee you that nobody would be able to pick the difference in quality between these images when viewing their web page. So you save a lot of download, much happier users, and much faster results. Google will love you, and the web page looks exactly the same as it did before. So let's go back to our editor. So we're going to edit this page again. And what we're going to do is we're going to change these images to use our newly optimized image. I'm just going to change that to a list view so you can see that a little bit better. So we want image 1, which is the dog. Image 1. Look how much quicker this is to optimize. That was so quick for not optimize, sorry, for WordPress to create all the other file sizes. That was extremely quick. So I'll show you on the next one. So insert that. Let's grab our dancing girl. And you watch what happens when I upload this. Bang, done. So it's because it's such a small file size, it's very, very quick for WordPress to create all the additional image sizes. So what I mean by that is every time you upload an image to WordPress, it uploads the full size image. It creates a whole bunch of other images like the full size, the medium size, the large size, the thumbnail sizes. They all get created when you upload the image. So the larger that image is, it takes longer for WordPress to create those intermediary file sizes. So we'll insert that. Go to our dancing girl. Sorry, not dancing girl, our guitar player. Insert that image, bang, done. Okay, just going to update that. I'm going to view this page. Okay, looks exactly to me as it did before. So we go to the Google Chrome tools by opening F12, go to the Network tab, make sure Disable Cache is ticked, and we're going to go Online Mode first and press Control F5. So instead of 4 megabytes being downloaded, it's downloaded 835k, so less than 1 megabyte, and took 1.36 seconds. Okay, let's put that into our NBN 12 throttling mode by clicking Online and then NBN 12 and press F5, Control plus F5 again. And there we go, 1.69 seconds. So we've reduced this from 6.6 seconds down to 1.69 seconds just by changing these images. Now let's have a look at it in the mobile responsive mode, and these images still look great at full size. So all we've done is reduce the amount of time it takes to download this page without reducing any of the quality, which is exactly what we needed to do. So I hope this helped you to clarify why it's important to optimize the photos and images you put on web pages, the difference or the effect that has on the download speed, how to determine what dimensions those images should be, and then how to optimize those images to make your web page load as quickly as possible. Thank you.